Let's talk about The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal. This came out in April, mid to late April of 2022. I think it was supposed to release, or had started working on it, and then of course COVID delayed things. But the synopsis is Nicolas Cage stars as Nick Cage in the action comedy. In this action comedy, it's creatively unfulfilled and facing financial ruin. The fictionalized version of Cage must accept a $1 million offer to attend the birthday of a dangerous superfan played by Pedro Pascal. Things take a wildly unexpected turn when Cage is recruited by a CIA operative played by Tiffany Haddish and forced to live up to his own legend, channeling his most iconic and beloved on-screen characters in order to save himself and his loved ones. The career built for this very moment, the seminal award-winning actor must take on the role of his lifetime, Nick Cage. It's directed by Tom Gormican, also written by Tom Gormican and Kevin Etten. Gormican is known for that Fox sitcom Ghosted, which came out like 5 or 6 years ago with Adam Scott and Craig Robinson, which on paper makes sense. And just I don't think anyone watched it. I think I might have watched an episode and I was like, okay. And That Awkward Moment. He also, I think, directed or wrote That Awkward Moment. And I bring that up because it's like kind of crazy that movie had Zac Efron, Miles Teller, and Michael B. Jordan. Like at the time, we're like, okay, Zac Efron, cool. But we're now almost 8 years later. Miles Teller blew up and Michael B. Jordan blew up possibly even more. I mean, it's like, we're going to look back and be like, what? I forgot that those three guys were in that friggin' comedy together, which I've seen and I appreciated. You know, I think I had pretty low expectations going into it, but Etten has written or directed, maybe written a few episodes of Kevin Can F Himself, which I don't want to get into it. He created Ghosted. So that's, I guess, where Gormican and Etten, hit it off or worked together. They also worked together on Son of Zorn, which was that kind of mixed live animation series where it's like the guy that kind of looks like He-Man, voiced by Jason Sudeikis, and then it had Tim Meadows and Cheryl Hines. Etten also did 13 episodes, wrote 13 episodes of Workaholics, so he gets a stamp of approval in my book. The cast, we talked about Nick Cage. He also plays Nicky Cage, which is credited to Nick Cage's birth name, which is Nicholas Kim Coppola. And Nicky Cage is a figment of real life actor Nick Cage's imagination, a younger version of himself based on the actor's infamous appearance on the talk show while promoting Wild at Heart, which I don't remember that. I don't remember that movie. I don't remember that appearance, but now I gotta watch. We mentioned Pedro Pascal as he plays Javi Gutierrez, the billionaire and super fan who pays Cage $1 million to appear as his birthday party. What a friggin' couple of years for Pedro Pascal. With the exception of Wonder Woman 1984, which I honestly don't think is his fault. I think he did the best with it he could. My God, The Last of Us, The Mandalorian, this movie. I mean, it feels like everything he's in is just, so good. Sharon Horgan as Olivia Henson, Cage's ex-wife. She plays the female lead in Catastrophe with Rob. Can't remember. That's so sad. She was also in Game Night with Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams. She's got a nice thick accent. Redhead. Yeah. I didn't see them as a couple. That was my one knock. Cause like, there's no way they were a couple. But so Cage's ex-wife in this movie is a makeup artist that he met on the set of a movie. And so that's how they got together and got married and had a baby, had a daughter. Lily Mo Sheen as Addie Cage, Cage's daughter. Lily Mo Sheen. She is, okay. She's Kate Beckinsale's daughter. I did not realize that. Born on January 31st, 1999. Fucking Y2K. No, it's not Y2K. Neil, you dumb. December 31st, 1999. Okay. Yeah. Kate Beckinsale and Michael Sheen. they got together and had a baby, huh? Okay. All right. Okay. Got it. Michael Sheen, who was in that show about sex where he got to bone Lizzie Kaplan. Michael Sheen. I'll have what you're having. Dear God. So toxic. Tiffany Haddish as Vivian Etten, which is the same last name as the screenwriter. Okay. CIA agent and has a partner named played by Ike Barinholtz as Martin Etten, a CIA agent. Ike Barinholtz and Tiffany Haddish have worked together before. There was that Thanksgiving movie that I was like tempted because I was like, I love those two people separately and together. So I got to watch this movie, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. It's like a Thanksgiving movie. It's like, no, I just feel like it's going to be a little too political. Alessandra Mostranardi as Gabriella, Javi's assistant. I'm giving the eyebrows. Paco Leon as Lucas Gutierrez, Javi's cousin. Neil Patrick Harris as Richard Fink, Cage's agent. And then there are some surprise cameos at the end, baby. Which I don't want to say right now. Don't worry. It's a coming. So yeah, the plot of the movie. Kind of a similar vibe to Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Where it's heading one way, and I know a lot of movies do this, where it's heading one way and then takes a left turn. You're like, whoa, and there's a twist halfway, and you're like, okay. And those are some of the best movies, and I think it works here, and it worked in Weird, the Al Yankovic story, where you lay down the grounds, the foundation for something that's expected, and then you're like, right at the point where you're like, where is this going? Like it's like, okay. It's just gonna go. It's gonna go this way, and somewhat unexpected way, and then it kind of that's when things get good. So yeah, he's having troubles, right? Nick Cage having troubles with his ex-wife and his daughter, teenage daughter. He didn't get a part. He's now getting no offers whatsoever, and he just feels, and he keeps saying like, people get so upset with the number of films that I've done and that I'm always working, and as if that's a bad thing. And like, actor seems to be like one of the only professions where if you're not working, that's okay. But like every other job, you need to be working like all the time. And so that's his drive. He's trying to defend that drive, but he's also taking these assignments and these jobs that are not your 9-to-5 jobs, right? As an actor, you pull in these sometimes 14-hour days, 16-hour days for months on end. You're sacrificing some quality time with the family. And so that's what ended up rubbing his ex-wife the wrong way and alienated his daughter to a certain extent. So a lot of the movie is him trying to, come to grips with that and try to amend that, repair that relationship. And he does that through Javi, this supposed alleged arms dealer that is a superfan. He has a whole secret room where it's like all Nick Cage memorabilia, a huge wax figure with Nicolas Cage from Face Off, where he has the 2 gold guns, Castor Troy. Holy shit, so cool. And says he has a script that he wrote and he wants Nick Cage to star in, and Nick Cage initially is like no, and then finds out about the CIA tells him that this Javi character kidnapped a local politician's daughter so that the politician throws the election so that another member of a cartel can assume the head role there. I forget what it was, mayor, governor, or something like that. So initially he's like kind of turned off or not into it. And then eventually him and Javi become like best buds, very close. And, but he finds out about the kidnapping. And so that kind of kicks up a notch. He offers to stay around for longer to help work on the script that he was initially off of, and so that he can collect more information and try and help solve this case for the CIA. This also involved LSD. So it is very, I don't know. I'm kind of weird in that I make all these connections in my head and it seems so clear and obvious. And I feel like I'm it's such a huge revelation that I deserve compensation for that kind of connection. But it is crazy how I didn't really put these two in the same kind of boat, but Jesus Christ, both are like parodies of biopics almost to a certain degree, where it's like, this is the real Weird Al, but not really. And then this is the real Nick Cage, but not really. And in the first movie, Weird, they do LSD. And then in this movie, they do LSD. Should I do LSD? Yes or no? Vote in the comments. Yeah, so they do that LSD scene was pretty funny, especially when they keep looking over at the two guys sitting. They're looking now. They're looking out. Should I look now? Do they look now? Are they looking now? All right, let's go. And then they run away, trying to climb a wall. And such a good movie. I wouldn't quite put it up as classic as the Wolf of Wall Street drug scene. I think that drug scene trumps any drug scene from any movie. The best drug scene of all time in Wolf of Wall Street, where they're taking the expired Quaaludes or something like that. Oh my God. And the Lamborghini. I mean, like, you can't get better than that. But this was a pretty good distant second, this LSD scene. Because you can just the acting that is done. Like, I'm so glad they picked Pedro Pascal to be Javi. I failed to see off the top of my head who else they could have got that would have been as good, because you can just tell in the chemistry between Pascal and Nick Cage. It's like, this feels like a bromance, and I hate that word, but it's just like, this is like a great duo. So the two open up to each other, right? They become more vulnerable, start telling each other some things. Nick Cage opens up about his family, his daughter, who's trying to win back. And, at the CIA's behest, he introduces like the idea of kidnapping into the script that Javi's working on, to see if Javi will slip and maybe reveal, it'll give them some kind of indication about the actual kidnapping. And so Javi ends up flying Nick Cage's ex-wife and daughter to the island so that they can heal and repair what's going on. And then that's when they reveal that Javi is not the arms dealer; it's his cousin Lucas, and that Javi is just getting a chunk of change to basically be on the payroll so that he doesn't, I don't know, because he's family and he doesn't want to rock the boat, I guess. But Lucas knows that Cage is working for the CIA, and he pressures him to kill Nick, or he'll kill Javi. And that's when they have that scene where they're both like leading each other to a remote location because they each have the plan to kill each other. And then that's when they can't bring themselves to do it. And then that's where the makeup artist angle comes in, because Nick Cage's ex-wife is a makeup artist. Lucas has a meeting with a guy that has not been seen in public for 15 years. And so this is what it sounds like when worlds collide. You know what I'm saying? The makeup artist comes up with the prosthetics to make Nick Cage look like Sergio Baldessari or whatever, which does not work. Is called out immediately once they get to Lucas's compound. And then we get to see action star Nick Cage, right? Once he's surrounded by hooligans and goons, and saving the day, saving both his daughter and the politician's daughter. They're trying to race to the American embassy. Lucas holds Nick at gunpoint, and Addie tosses him a knife, which Nick uses to kill him. And then that seamlessly transition into the movie that Nick and Javi completed based on their adventure. But so that's the spoiler at the end. It's like, they don't have the act. So it's very meta, but like, I feel like, man, I'm so freaking meta, dude. Some things can be too meta for their own good, but this was the right kind of meta. Anyway, they already have an actress playing his ex-wife and an actress playing his daughter, but then they get actresses to play the actresses playing his ex-wife and his daughter. And so his ex-wife in the movie, not this movie, but the movie that the movie's based on, Huh? Demi Moore still looks goddamn fantastic. And then the daughter I don't recognize. And that's my bad. I'm not hip, not with it. Oh, did she play? No, maybe. In Winning Time, The Rise of the Laker Dynasty, Abby? That's not the daughter, is it? No, it's definitely not the daughter. Definitely not. Apparently, she's also in Super Pumped. I don't remember her in Winning Time. What the hell else has she been in? Anna McDonald? iCarly, Super Pumped, Days of Our Lives. Yeah. Oh, Plus One. One of my top rom-coms of all time. Cool. So, yeah, that's how it ends. And then Nick congratulates Javi, who got shot when he was trying to hold off Lucas's gang. Let's talk about trivia. Nicolas Cage thought Javi was the best written character in the movie, so much that he wanted to play that role. So you'd have essentially two Nick Cages. I mean, you already had two Nick Cages. You have the actor Nick Cage, and then you have the younger figment of actor Nick Cage's imagination, Nicky. You would have also had Nick Cage's Javi. That might have been a little too much for me. I'm so glad they got Pedro Pascal. It wasn't until Pedro Pascal was cast that Cage eventually relented and was like, I think you made the right choice. Because that starts to get into, I mean, he's done it before. He did it in adaptation. You know, this gives me like kind of flashbacks to, you have adaptation where he played Charlie Kaufman and Charlie Kaufman's twin. And then you had Being John Malkovich. And I feel like this is kind of a combination of those two. Adaptation and the movie that I just said that escaped my brain. Adaptation and Being John Malkovich. So according to Neil Patrick Harris, Nick Cage had body makeup to cover his tattoos. And when he asked Cage why Nick Cage, the character, doesn't have the tattoos that Nicolas Cage, the real person, has, Cage said the character didn't have as many wives as him. Jesus. Within the film, Nicolas Cage has a daughter. In actuality, he has two sons, Weston and Kal-El, and a third child on the way. Congratulations, Nick Cage. Whoa. In real life, when Nick Cage is referred to by his nickname, it's spelled N-I-C, Nick Cage. This film makes it clear through subtitles and all written, legible references of Nick Cage. He has a K, Nick Cage. Make it clear the character is based on the actor, still a fictional character. According to Tiffany Haddish, she told Nicolas Cage a story about having sex while watching Face Off. As her first time in a movie theater, Cage laughed about it, saying it was a symbol of their impending marriage. Damn, Nick Cage, you dog. The part that Tiffany Haddish played was originally written as an overweight, stubby, stumpish, short, fat man. And Paul Walter Hauser was originally cast. If you don't know Paul Walter Hauser, he played the suspected Olympic bomber in, what was it called? King Richard? No. The bomber in the 96 Olympics who was a security guard. That was his name. He was really great in that movie. And then he also was in I, Tonya. I think that was his feature debut, and he was awesome in that as Jeff Glulley, the man behind the club that took out Nancy Kerrigan. Damn, homie. Quentin Tarantino was originally supposed to direct. What? And then, not direct. I'm sorry. When in one of the earlier scenes when Nick Cage like tracks down a director, I was like, I know this is supposed to be a famous director, and I cannot place this director. I just can't. That director was supposed to be Quentin Tarantino, and Nick Cage was like, no. It's got to be David Gordon Green, who he worked with on a 2013 movie. I think it was called Joe. And then Demi Moore replaced Angelina Jolie, which both of them are great choices, but it would be nuts just to see Angelina Jolie in that kind of cameo. Like Demi Moore, I can see, and it's like, oh yeah. If I saw Angelina Jolie, I would be like, what? The original script included cameo appearances by, like we said, Tarantino, Naomi Watts, Charlie Sheen, and Jim Carrey. But they were all the cameos are dialed back due to COVID. What do the critics say about this shit, man? All right. Calm yourself. Metacritic assigned the film a score of 68 out of 100, which I believe is low. But those reviews indicated were generally favorable. Cinema Score gave it a B+, pretty cool. And Post Track gave it an 82% positive score, with 66% saying they would definitely recommend it. And I gotta tell you, if you had to guess, I'm one of the 66%. I definitely recommend it, especially if you're a Nick Cage fan. You've probably already seen it 1,000 times by now. It's almost a year since it came out in theaters. 87% of critics gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 7.2 out of 10, while top critics gave it an average rating of 6.8 out of 10. Friggin' top critics, bro. Remove that stick from your beehole, bro. The critics' consensus: smart, funny, and wildly creative. This movie is Nick Cage in peak gonzo form. He's matched by Pedro Pascal's scene-stealing performances, which I agree with. I mean, Pedro went toe for toe, you know? So glad that they didn't go with like some stock character. Like Lucas, not bad performance as far as bad guys go. They gave him some color, some depth. Maybe that, I don't know, the casting there, what could have been, I don't know. I'm not saying the actor they got to play Lucas was bad at all, but I think maybe that's what would take it to the next level. If you got someone on par with Pedro Pascal, which is tough. But yeah, every scene that they're both in, it's just, you can't look away. It's just so good. And Hornaday, Washington Post top critic, said, as the movie gains momentum, it shapeshifts from a winking critique of actorly excess and celebrity worship to a playful and on-point critique about the state of American cinema. I gotta look this up. What the fuck does that mean? Critique. A passionate appeal, complaint, or protest. I mean, this is how meta it gets. It talks about the whole movie. Nick and Javi are talking about why does cinema have to have an alien invasion or a kidnapping or action or something to drive the plot? Why can't it just be a drama between two grown men trying to figure out their lives? And then of course it follows in that what they don't want the movie to be. But it works. I mean, I might be a dumb American, but it's got me hooked. 87% of the audience gave it a good review. With the verified audience giving it an average rating of 4.3 out of 5, and all audience giving it 4.1 out of 5. So yeah, I mean, I would say I think I gave it a 7 on IMDb. I know it's a rookie grade because it doesn't have a decimal point. Whatever, dude. And then, I'd say a little bit of a 4. Would I put this above Weird, the Al Yankovic story? Oof. It's tough. It's close. But maybe it does edge it out. But just a little bit. The audience says, with some terrific performances and a lot of meta laughs, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is a great time for Nicolas Cage fans, and I couldn't agree more. So good. I mean, I haven't watched nearly, I would say, half of his movies. I mean, he has like 100 and some odd movies. I haven't seen half of them, but I've seen the Criterion collection, I believe. So yeah, add another one to what a storied career. And I hope that, I mean, I know he was playing a fictionalized version of himself, but it is interesting to see, and you don't just see this with Nick Cage. I think you see this with a lot of actors or a lot of famous people. Like their whole success, wealth, whatever, is largely based on relevance. I was listening to the Smartless podcast where they're interviewing Brendan Fraser, and they're like, and Brendan Fraser is like, sounded like he's kind of poking fun or making jokes about how he doesn't have work right now, which is insane to say considering he's being nominated for an Oscar for his performance in The Whale. And like the fact that he's had such an illustrious career when you think about some of his movies, Encino Man, School Ties, the Mummy franchise, like he's been in a bunch of like blockbuster hits. It wasn't like a one and done situation. The fact that someone that famous can be like, yeah, looking for work, don't know if I'll get it, but it's just like, what? That's bonkers. And so that fear maybe not drives Nick Cage in real life, but it drove him in that movie. Actor, the Nick Cage fictionalized version. You know, I mean, the stress that, and Smartless talks about it a lot, that podcast. So it's like, you know, they're constantly talking about being worried and anxious about finding the next thing, you know, find the next thing. What a life. I don't know. Oof. But yet again, coward. Pointing to myself. Variant Neal, that spells his name with an I, Neil. Maybe he's a fucking rebel and he just becomes moves to LA and becomes an actor and has to live in a car for a little bit because that seems to be a prerequisite to frame. You know, live in your car. Okay. So that's the unbearable weight of massive talent.